Hi everyone, my name is Ben Dinnery from Premier Injuries. Thanks for joining me again for another Premier League injury preview where I look to cover the main injury talking points in the build up to game week 10. Discuss any of those sort of major injuries which have been flagged up during press conferences on Thursday and Friday. Maybe discuss the impact with regards to each relevant squad and potential sort of rotation opportunities and what that means in terms of maybe length of absence and days on the sidelines. Unfortunately, Johnny Wilson cannot be with us this week, but he has sent across a video again which I will look to upload soon, and that's looking at late fitness tests and again return to play and those decisions around whether a player will be included in the squad or not, particularly salient given the news with regards to Eden Hazard, who will be assessed on Saturday. A player with high ownership. I've had a lot of questions asked, so that be something which a lot of you should be interested in. So I was very aware that last week's video, the first one, went on for quite a while, and with it being a first effort, editing actually took a lot longer than I had initially anticipated. So I'm going to try and keep this intro as short and sweet as possible and get straight in with the team news. Without doubt, this week's major talking point has been the fitness of Eden Hazard and whether the Belgium international will be fit to travel to Turf Moor on Sunday. There was a suggestion that Hazard went into last weekend's game against Manchester United at Stamford Bridge with a niggling back problem. He was seen on several different occasions rubbing the lower part of his back during the warm-up and at various stages throughout the game, although he did manage to complete 90 minutes. Post-match, there was no mention from Maurizio Sarri or a problem. Certainly there was no specifics mentioned with regards to Hazard, who was, given his recent form, was probably a little bit below his recent sort of high standards of late. Around about sort of 24 hours later, news then broke at Sunday tea time that Hazard had indeed suffered a back problem, which may have been exacerbated at Stamford Bridge in the lunchtime kickoff. Now, that initial assessment revealed that Hazard would miss out in the Europa League on Thursday night, and he was flagged as a major doubt for Sunday against Burnley. In Wednesday's press conference, Maurizio Sarri said the club had been working hard to resolve any issues with his back, although he did maintain that it was going to be very difficult to get Hazard fit for the game. Unfortunately, there was no press conference on Friday with Chelsea being involved in the Europa League, which leaves a lot of people in doubt as to whether Hazard will be fit to play or not. What I would suggest is that any decision at this stage will be left until the very last moment. Chelsea still have one session planned for Saturday, and I think Sarri will give Hazard every opportunity to prove himself, and hopefully he will be fit for the game. They do have a Carabao Cup game next week, but arguably he won't be involved in that. So after that, he's got a full week to recover. What we do know is, certainly Hazard hasn't been involved in full training. He hasn't been outside at Cobham, and all of his work's been done indoors with the physios. There are also some reports that he may, and I stress may, have travelled to Germany for treatment for a back, and that could be possible. But he certainly is back in London, and on Friday he was getting treatment with the team. So just a quick recap. There's no definitive answer at this moment. My own personal opinion is I think Hazard will be included in the matchday squad. Now, whether he's fit enough to start the game or whether Sarri has him on the bench to maybe as a fallback plan if things aren't quite going the way you would like at Burnley, it remains to be seen. But like I say, he's got Saturday to prove himself, and hopefully Hazard can come through that session and, like I say, get a good rest next week and look forward to game week 11. Andriy Yarmolenko underwent surgery earlier this week after tests confirmed that the summer signing from Borussia Dortmund ruptured his Achilles tendon during the 1-0 defeat to Tottenham Hotspur. The club maintain that the winger could return this season, and they've suggested maybe a 5 month timeline. However, looking at the data from the last maybe 8 or 9 seasons from the Premier League, it suggests that a return before May is unlikely. Average return to players is around 221 days, which sort of puts him at the back end of the season. There are factors to consider. Probably a little bit down the line. We'll be hoping that his recovery and the rehab goes smoothly and there aren't any setbacks. But whether West Ham decide to rush him back or not, may depend on what position they are in the league. If they're fighting for against relegation and they need somebody like Yarmolenko back in the squad, then it may be worth the risk. But if they're safe and they're around sort of mid-table or maybe pushing for European honours and there's no need to risk Yarmolenko, then I can see him just being rested throughout the summer and then just focus for a return in 2019-2020. Now, for a lot of managers, fantasy managers, one of the big questions is, with Yarmolenko being out, how does that affect Marko Arnautovic? Will that mean is he pushed out on the wing? Will he play in a slightly deeper role? And the answer is, initially I would say no. It shouldn't, or hopefully it may not affect his role at all in the team. Pellegrini has hinted that Diagana, the youngster who played really well in the Carabao Cup last month, could be introduced into the team. Although he admits, he's still got a lot to work on and a lot of things to improve upon. He does look a very exciting prospect. So he's a possibility, and that would be a like-for-like swap. Other options could include bringing in the likes of maybe Javier Hernandez, who's now approaching full fitness following some time away due to glandular fever. If that happens, it could be that Hernandez is pushed up front and Arnautovic drops a little bit deeper. With regards to Andy Carroll, there's no imminent return there. He's been integrated back with the first team training at the moment, so that basically means he's taken part in some sessions but not all. And Pellegrini's, again, they're going to err on the side of caution with him, just given his the number of ankle problems that he has had. And it's hoped that, all being well, Andy Carroll will be back after the next international break, which will be towards the end of November. I would suggest that maybe, he looks to build minutes during that time, and, Andy Carroll could be fully fit for the festive period. Arsenal travel to Selhurst Park on Sunday, and Unai Emery will be hoping to make it 13 consecutive wins. But the biggest problem he's got at this stage is who's going to play at left back. Nacho Monreal reported a slight hamstring issue following a training session last Sunday, and Emery decided not to risk him against Leicester. And then he was subsequently rested for the game in Lisbon on Thursday night in the Europa League. Now, officially, Arsenal still have one more session to go on Saturday. So again, very similar to Chelsea, any decision on his involvement will be left until the last moment. If the Arsenal website, there's been no press conference today, so the only information that we've got from the club is that the player will be assessed during the build up to the game. However, I would say, if there are any doubts, particularly with it being a minor hamstring issue, then they will certainly look to err on the side of caution, and Monreal could miss out. What they don't want to do is exacerbate any problem and potentially cause a tear, which would could rule him out for maybe 3-4, potentially even longer. So left back options, duties they may fall to Lichtsteiner, who started against Leicester City, or even Granit Xhaka, who played in Lisbon. Now, opponents Palace, they've been struggling to score goals. So I've had quite a lot of questions over the last week about who's going to come in now that Christian Benteke is ruled out until early 2019, and it well documented that when Wilfried Zaha isn't quite at it or doesn't score, then Palace inherently don't tend to win. So Soloff last week was missing through a virus. Now he does come back into contention, but there's also been one or two questions relating to Connor Wickham. So Blinken, you may have missed it, but he did manage a brief cameo last weekend at Goodison Park, a mere 5 minutes. And you may be thinking, what was the point of that? But I think psychologically, Roy Hodgson just wanted to get Connor back out on the pitch. It's been almost 2 years since he's ruptured his anterior cruciate ligament, so he's had a serious injury, and then along the way he's had a number of setbacks, particularly soft tissue, calf and groin problems. So just getting him out there and getting a taste of competitive action, albeit for those 5 minutes, would be a big confidence boost for him. But certainly that's all it was at this stage. We wouldn't expect anything more than a substitute role. Hodgson himself admits that Wickham has a lot of work to do on the training pitches to improve his that foundational sort of sharpness and building up, because he's just missed so long, and the last thing that you want to do at this stage is once he's came off the bench, he doesn't want to suffer another setback. So you want to maintain ensure that he protects himself and he is ready, and those minutes will be sort of gradually increased maybe over the coming weeks and months. And I think maybe towards maybe after the international break, towards the back end of November, then we could potentially see Connor Wickham in contention for a start for Crystal Palace. So I promised on Twitter the day that I would try and answer as many questions as possible that have been sent through. So I'm very aware that I don't want to keep the video going as long as I did last week. So I'll have a quick bash at going through some of those questions and try to give you a little bit of insight as to where those players are in terms of return. So we have Jess Lingard. Now Jess Lingard's been struggling with a groin problem since the World Cup. He thought a little bit of rest post-tournament would help ease the problem. It didn't. He played the early weeks of his season, and that's aggravated the issue. So he's missed the last few games, but now he is, he's very close to return. Now whether Mourinho decides to risk him this weekend or not, we're not sure. He's hinted that if pressed, and if pushed, he could play him. But if not, he might just decide that he wants him to have another week on the training pitches to build that sort of core fitness and that stability around the injury and the rehab. He also mentioned that Alexis Sanchez came back from international duty with Chile with a slight issue, but he was adamant that he wanted to be a part of the squad at Chelsea. Sanchez only got the last 5 minutes of the game, but that was enough again to aggravate the issue, and it looks like that could put him out. It's obviously certainly put him out this weekend, and we have no definitive timeline at this stage on how long he's actually going to miss out. Looking elsewhere, I've had a question there on Robbie Brady. Now Robbie Brady's hoping to be back in the Burnley squad for the first time since December 2017. The Republic of Ireland international ruptured his patella tendon, in his knee, in a challenge with Harry Maguire. It was initially hoped that he would be out for maybe around sort of 6 to 7 months, but again, he's a player that suffered a number of minor niggles and little setbacks. He was on the verge of a first team return on several occasions, playing for the under-23s, but when it came to sort of stepping up those minutes, he always ended up picking up a little injury. So he's had some hamstring issues, certainly for the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks, but he seems to be over them now. He's had minutes for the under-23s, and Sean Dyche confirms that he will be back in contention. So that brings us to the end of another Premier Injuries preview. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos from myself and Johnny, subscribe to the Premier Injuries YouTube channel. This is very much work in progress for myself and Johnny. This is only our second preview, so if you do have any suggestions or recommendations or anything that you'd like to see tweaked in terms of the format, please leave a comment and we'll try to get back to as many people as possible. I'm also available on most days at Ben Dinnery through Twitter. Alternative, if you need some injury news, please feel free to check out the injury table at premierinjuries.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.